A man dressed as his sister in the middle of the night, not sleeping, he runs with Lao wanting some intimacy. Will he satisfy him? The story begins a few days ago. The man's name is Svaha. To replace his runaway sister and marry a sick man for good luck. As soon he said goodbye to his grandmother and came to this household. Just as he was about to enter, someone called out to him looked behind. Knowing he was the future sister-in-law, he warmly led him inside. He also complimented his nice name. Later he found out this person was his husband's brother, Soon he was brought to the bedroom. Svaha looked at the mother and son, feeling lost. A smiling mother-in-law and a husband lying in bed like a ghost. Those eyes looked like they wanted to devour him. The mother-in-law introduced her son, saying, "This is your wife. From now on, he will take care of you." The person lying in bed was very unsatisfied. "Looks too young. How old are you?" Svaha was still hesitating how to answer when he got slapped hard. The mother-in-law smiled and said, "Don't make me repeat myself." Finally faced reality, he wouldn't have good days ahead. Every day he lived a humiliating life of constant beatings and scolding. He couldn't just run away like his sister did. The only thing that made him happy was finally getting to eat good food. But soon even that privilege was taken away. He could only comfort himself that eating too much would make him bulky and people would realize he was a man. That day he was bringing food to that sick guy. Reason he started going crazy again. He even knocked the hot food to the floor. Svaha got burned on his hand because just as he was enduring the scolding, his brother-in-law came. Not only did he help him out, but also took him to get bandaged. Made that his brother-in-law was a college student. Very talented. But he and his brother didn't collapse. Just as he was lasted. His brother-in-law grabbed his hand and said, "Taking care of my brother must be hard. Run away when you get the chance." Then he gave him an encouraging look to try it, and turned and left. Svaha stood there stunned. At night lying in bed, he kept thinking about what his brother-in-law said to him during the day. And his stomach was too hungry, keeping him from sleeping. He wanted to go to the kitchen to find some water to ease his brother-in-law who told him to escape drinking in the kitchen. His brother-in-law also turned around meaningfully, looking at his sister-in-law who wasn't sleeping in the middle. A man disguised as a woman married a sick man for good luck. Every day he lived a life of constant beating Svaha. What's that? But at night he would go to the kitchen and meet with his brother. Only because during the day this family would let him eat. His brother-in-law figured out the truth and would leave him some good food every day or bring him some from outside. Moved Svaha, who came from a poor family. That day he was feeding water to the sick guy. Unexpectedly, this guy actually put his finger in his mouth and sucked. Not only that, he said with enjoyment that it tasted good. This really disgusted Svaha, just as he was thinking whether to chop off his dirty hand. The phone rang. It turned out his brother-in-law had left an envelope at home and asked him to bring it to school. Soon Svaha arrived at the school, thinking his brother-in-law must be very. But when he eagerly opened the classroom door, Svaha was stunned. His brother-in-law was actually playing board games with a girl. "Didn't you say you needed it urgently?" Thinking about his unclear feelings for his brother-in-law all these days, he felt embarrassed. He ran home without even giving the envelope to his brother-in-law. Lying in bed, Svaha couldn't help thinking about that scene in the classroom. If only the person with his brother-in-law was him. Soon he was trembling all over, his body releasing all its energy. But he wasn't happy, instead he cried. The next day at breakfast, his brother-in-law asked him why he didn't come last night. Did he think he was dirty? Svaha said no. But when his brother-in-law tried to be affectionate with him like always, he refused. He also said he wouldn't come here at night anymore. Then he left without looking back. Svaha ran to the bathroom and finally couldn't help crying. He felt ashamed of his dirty thoughts. His brother-in-law being good to him was just out of sympathy. Maybe he should leave this place. Just then, shouting came from outside. Opening the door, he saw his evil mother-in-law happily saying it was all thanks to him. Her son could now walk. She also demanded that he never leave her side. They would also sleep together at night, and she would arrange their wedding soon. Svaha found it unbelievable. He didn't expect he could really bring good luck helping the sick guy to the bathroom. Suddenly he was hugged by him. Unexpectedly, this scene was witnessed by his brother-in-law. Then he ran downstairs with him. This really angered the sick older brother behind them. What crazy person. Soon the two came to the basement. His brother-in-law pressed Svaha against sister-in-law. Did I do something wrong? In-law actually eloped with his sister-in-law in the middle of the night. Ever since that day when his brother-in-law took him for that talk, he never returned home. The evil mother-in-law quickly arranged for Svaha and her son to sleep in the same room. Svaha, who had just fallen asleep, suddenly felt something pressing down on her. He thought it was sleep paralysis, but when he looked, he got a shock. That was his sick husband. Unexpectedly, as soon as this guy recovered a bit, he started showing his true nature. He even said they should consummate the marriage early. Svaha couldn't stand this. He directly hit the guy's vital spot. He quickly got up and ran away. He flew down the long stairs in 2 steps, trembling as he knelt on the floor. Just thinking about that scene made him feel sick enough to vomit. He really wanted to leave this place right now. Then a familiar voice rang out. When Svaha looked up and saw who it was, he finally cried out in grief. He couldn't help but throw himself into his brother-in-law's arms. So he didn't know exactly why his sister-in-law was crying like this. But his brother-in-law guessed it must be his brother who bullied him. Just like that, his brother-in-law eloped with his sister-in-law in the middle of the night. But unexpectedly, Svaha fell asleep from crying too much. When he woke up, his brother-in-law kept laughing at his puffy eyes, even saying he was cute. Svaha couldn't handle his brother-in-law's teasing and blushed, telling him to stop. His brother-in-law said, then he took Svaha's hand and got out of the car. The two sat on the car roof enjoying the night ocean view. Sixio asked him if he liked the ocean. Svaha said he didn't. He had never thought about this question. His brother-in-law said he didn't like. Svaha didn't understand why he would come here if he didn't like it. Then he heard his brother-in-law tell the story of almost drowning as a child. When he was 12, his family and his father's friends and families often vacationed together. When playing, he also wanted to join them. But they thought he was too boring and wouldn't play with him, so he chose to play alone. Then his brother Zhaotai came up behind him. He and his friends pushed him into the water. Every time he tried to get out, he would be pushed back into the water. When the adults found out, they thought it was just kids playing, and didn't take it seriously. From then on, he started learning to swim. Svaha didn't understand. If he was afraid of water, why learn to swim? Sixio told him that hate and fear are different. If he can't overcome fear, if he can't defeat it, it will control him for life. Listening to his brother-in-law's childhood story, Suo didn't want to hide anything from him either. He nervously said he didn't like his brother because grandmother wanted to sell his sister. His sister ran away, so grandmother sold him instead. Then he couldn't help crying. Just when he wanted to confess to him that he was actually a man, his brother-in-law interrupted. Suo finally decided to leave this filthy place. But before leaving, he knocked on his brother-in-law's door. The story goes back to the morning. The two who had spent a tender night by the sea still returned before dawn. Although Suo was reluctant to leave his brother-in-law, he had to face reality. He quietly returned to the villa. The maid was surprised that the new bride was up so early. Suo said somewhat guiltily that he just got up early. The maid went to prepare breakfast. Suo stopped her and asked how the two brothers' relationship was. The maid hesitated, but seeing no one around, she leaned close to his ear and whispered that young master Shixio wasn't born to the main wife. His mother died long ago and he was brought in as a newborn. Suo was shocked. He didn't expect the truth to be like this. In the room, staring at the eldest son who he had beaten black and blue last night, the person was the one who tormented and hurt young Jing Shixio, half-brother Jiang Xitai. Then he said coldly, "You're really disgusting." After saying that, he turned and left. Now, he finally had to admit that he liked Jiang Shixio. But soon he was furious listening to his mother-in-law's conversation with her friends. They praised him in front of people as proper and dignified, but behind his back called him a witch's son who gave them goosebumps every time they met. His motives for approaching her son weren't pure either. A caregiver would come soon, and then they'd send him away. At this moment, Suo couldn't take it anymore. He wanted to leave more than anyone, to get away from these disgusting people. But if he left, he'd never see him again. So before leaving, he decided to see his brother-in-law one last time. His brother-in-law looked at his sister-in-law knocking on his door in the middle of the night in disbelief. After Suo came in, he sat directly on the bed. After hesitating for a while, he still asked what relationship the woman at school with you was. His brother-in-law found him somewhat amusing. They had even kissed, but now he was curious about this. Then stroking his hair, he said it was just a relationship of occasional need. Sister-in-law will understand that kind of relationship when she grows up. Or are you curious about that? Suo looked up at him. Have you ever been intimate with a man? In-law was stumped. He didn't understand why Suo would ask such an absurd question. But he still answered no. The next second, Suo grabbed his hand and let him feel what the man possessed. His brother-in-law was shocked speechless. His sister-in-law was actually a man. The man didn't expect his sister-in-law would come to him in the middle of the night and ask if he would help a man with relief. He had known for a long time that he was different from his brother. His parents' usual attitude toward him, the servants' strange looks, and always wanting to kill his brother. If he couldn't even see this, then he'd really be an idiot. Until one day, a man claiming to be his uncle appeared. He told his mother was someone else, and after giving birth to him, she was sent abroad before fully recovering. Although she really wanted to come back to see him, she couldn't due to financial difficulty. She died tragically in a foreign land 3 years ago. That's when he learned he was an illegitimate existence. Why would she be with a married man? Since she didn't have the courage to fight for him, then why give birth to him at all? After learning the truth, he didn't change at all. He chose a major unrelated to his father's business, and he wasn't serious about college. Just like a carefree playboy with no attachments. Just like that, he silently endured and hid himself for a long time. But 6 months ago, when Jiang Xitai got sick, an angel descended. Looking at his cute sleeping face, did he really cure Jiang Xitai's illness? If he discovered the lie, he would definitely punish him severely. My sister-in-law. How he wished his parents, brother, and this house would all completely crumble. That would be wonderful. The next morning, Suo looked at the still sleeping Jiang Taixi. An unpredictable person. To think he liked someone like this. While he probably preferred cute and beautiful women. Forget it. Better not think about it. Anyway, he was about to leave this place soon. After his shower, Suo wondered how he would be kicked out. But when he nervously opened the door, he was horrified to see Jiang Taixi covered in blood, lying motionless on the bed. After a night of passion, when the door closed, his mother-in-law turned around angry looking at Jin. Why aren't you gonna find Xitai? What are you standing here for? Suo was startled and quickly turned to go upstairs. But his mother-in-law didn't stop talking. If you had any conscience, you should be more proactive. Don't you see how much money I spent to bring you back? Useless then. Suo, who was going upstairs to after how Xitai spent his medicine, Jin peeled the candy and fed it to him like every day. Unexpectedly, this sick ghost sucked his finger into his mouth again. Suo quickly pulled out his finger, but then heard his mother-in-law's voice behind him. Shameless. Facing the old woman's insults again, Suo couldn't take it anymore. He turned and walked toward the door. He walked faster and faster until he reached the tall gate. Looking up at the blue sky outside, hearing his mother-in-law's foul language in his ears. He didn't want to stay here for another moment. So he forcefully pulled open the gate and ran out without looking back. Not stopping for a moment, he soon reached the phone booth and quickly dialed his grandmother's number. After connecting, he asked the person on the other end how much longer he had to stay there. Unexpectedly, grandmother said coldly, "Even if you die, you're their family is don't think about coming back. Take good care of your husband." Suo was furious. "I'm a grown man. How could I have a husband? Where's the money from selling me? You use it to pay dad's gambling debts again, right? You think he'll pay it back? Probably took that money and gambled it away again. So what do I do? How am I supposed to get out of here?" Oh, couldn't hold it in anymore, and fell to his knees crying. He didn't know how much longer he could hang on. Before sunset, Suo went back to that disgusting home. But just as he reached the door, the shouting inside startled him. His mother-in-law was actually cursing at his brother-in-law. That wasn't enough. She even slapped him. Shixio didn't seem to care. Instead, she said he was too noisy. She had a servant take him back to his room. Though he was unwilling, he still left. Only his brother-in-law were left in the room. But the first thing Shixio said was, "Sister-in-law, why weren't you home earlier?" Suo stuttered, not knowing how to explain. Shixio looked at his torn shoes and seemed to understand everything. He sighed. "Did my brother bully you or did mom bully you?" Suo didn't answer. Instead, he reached out to gently touch his swollen cheek. Shixio's hand covered Suo. "Sister-in-law, do you want me to kill them? I can help you kill those people." That night, the sister-in-law actually drugged her husband to go to her brother-in-law's room. When Shixio said he would help him kill those people, Suo froze for a moment, then awkwardly pushed him away. What are you talking about?" He turned to get the medicine. His brother-in-law grabbed him tightly from behind. "Sister-in-law, can you not go to my brother tonight? I've been waiting in my room for you every night. Why haven't you come late? Suo stammered an explanation. He can't sleep, so I couldn't come. Hearing this, Shixu couldn't help but laugh. Can't sleep. Then he pulled something out of his desk drawer and handed it to him. Here, sleeping pills. He used to take them. He's always been sensitive, so he'd take these. Even before he got sick, Suo took the medicine. He was curious why the young master had these pills. Shixu noticed his doubt. Afraid I'm giving you something bad. Suo felt ashamed. How could he think that about him? He quickly explained, no, that's not it. The next second, Shixu grabbed his head and kissed him hard. When they separated, both their lips were bleeding from the force. Shixu touched the blood at the corner of his mouth, unsatisfied. He looked at him with anticipation and said, I'll wait for you. In that moment, Suo was scared, but he wanted to be with Shixu so badly, and he believed he wouldn't hurt him. So he obediently put the stuff in the warm milk. He brought it to Sitai, but the guy asked him why he was doing something he'd never done before. Suo didn't answer. He just looked at him. Sitai figured he wouldn't dare do anything to him, but as he picked up the cup, he suddenly yelled, hey! Suo jumped. Had he been found out? But Sitai just asked if he didn't put sugar in the milk. Suo said he hadn't. Sitai was annoyed. You don't even know that? Put some in next time. Then he gulped it down. Soon he was lying in bed breathing evenly. But Suo still wasn't sure. He clapped his hands hard making a loud noise. But Sitai still didn't wake up. Only then did Suo relax and knock on Shixi's door. The door opened quickly. How's my brother? Suo answered honestly. He drank what you gave me and fell asleep. Shixio smiled. You really gave it to him. Then he pulled Suo close with one arm and shut the door with the other. You did. Then the two of them began their indescribable activity. Suo went to his brother-in-law's room every night to be intimate. But then, that day Suo was taking care of his sick husband as usual. But his eyes were looking out the window until he heard the roar of a car. He ran out without looking back, leaving behind the thoughtful Sitai. When Suo ran to the entrance, ready to greet the person he'd been longing for, his feet stopped. A very pretty woman was standing next to Shixu. She was smiling and greeting him. Then she handed him a gift and told him to take it to the kitchen. She probably thought he was a housekeeper. Suo could only take it in a daze. The lady also happily greeted the woman. In that moment, Suo felt like he was the outsider. Back in the kitchen, hearing the lively conversation from the living room, he realized that Shixu had graduated today. He felt a little down. He hadn't even told him. Just then, the lady asked with a smile, don't you think Miss Chen is very pretty? Suo froze for a moment before quickly answering yes. Then the lady started gossiping. Don't you think the young master and the miss look like muleys? They're perfect together. But then she sighed with regret. Such a shame. If it weren't for the madam, those two would be together. Suo was confused. He asked the lady why. Because the miss is engaged to Sitai. After she said it, she realized she said something she shouldn't have. She told him to just forget it. Then she changed the subject and told her to take a porridge to the young master. Sitai, who was drinking his porridge, noticed Suo's strange behavior finally made him angry. He asked why he kept staring at him. Suo told him about Li Chengmei's visit. Sitai paused. So what? Suo was puzzled. You don't feel anything. Sitai suddenly got it. Are you jealous? Then he laughed. Suo realized and quickly explained. What do you mean? Why would I be jealous? But Sitai was certain. You know what my relationship is with that woman, right? What? Are you afraid someone's taking your spot? Then he grabbed Suo's wrist. You think I don't know you stare at me every night with that look in your eyes, hoping I'll touch you? Suo tried to break free, but though the man was sick, he was surprisingly strong. You know, every time you look at me like that, I can barely hold back. And why aren't you in the house? Suo just wanted to get out of there. It's not like that. I just want to help you get better. Hearing this, the man suddenly thought of a good idea. That's right. I feel like sleeping with you once would make me recover faster. He leaned in to try right away. Suo pushed Sitai away with all his strength and ran downstairs. But looking at the empty living room, neither Shixi nor Li Chengmei were there. They're perfect together. So what about me? Like a stranger. Is it just physical? He told himself not to think about it. Even so, Shixi was good to him. He smiled at me gently, so I'm not worthless. But when he saw the two people in the yard, he thought he might be wrong. How low can you go when you love someone? Suo hid behind the wall, eavesdropping on his brother-in-law and the pretty woman. That's when he learned that the girl's father had sent her today. They talked about some business stuff he didn't understand. Then when the girl brought up their engagement, Shixu suddenly said, let's talk outside. Then he drove off with the girl. The night wind got colder. Suo stood there waiting for him lost. But young Shixu didn't come back. Not until he heard noise in the living room did he rush downstairs. When he saw clearly, it was the housekeeper and some people he didn't know. The lady looked at him in surprise. Why are you up so early? It's still the middle of the night. Suo was startled. I heard something and came down to check. Did something happen? The lady said the president's company abroad had a huge fire. So he left. It's chaos right now. Hearing this, Suo got nervous too. What about Shixi? I mean, did the young master go too? The lady said she didn't know either. Then she went to make breakfast for the eldest son. Suo stood in the living room watching strangers walk by. But young Shixi didn't come back. The son he'd been longing for rose. After staying up all night, he understood. No matter how hard he tried not to think about it, no matter what he did, his mind was full of Jiang Shixi. I really like Jiang Shixi. My feelings for him, my hopeful heart, my situation, all of it stabs at my heart. It hurts. Then on the third day, Jiang Shixi finally came back. That night, he came to his door again and gathered the courage to open it. Shixi, who was changing, looked a bit surprised to see him. But he didn't stop what he was doing. Is my brother asleep? Suo didn't answer. He just hugged him. Shixi was startled. Sister-in-law, what's wrong? Just as he was about to say let go, Suo grabbed his face. But this kiss wasn't. Both of them had their eyes open. Looking at each other, Shixi's cold voice asked, what are you doing? But Suo kept his head down and didn't answer. Shixio lost his patience. I'm asking you what you're doing. Not going to answer. The next second, Suo looked straight at him and said, I want to wrestle with you. The maple leaves had all turned. The awful days kept going. Suddenly an angry shout interrupted his thoughts. I said go over there. Suo saw how impatient Jiang Jitai looked. He had no choice but to quickly push him forward. Construction was going on at the house to make the wheels roll easier. They were laying cement in the yard. Dust was everywhere. Suo couldn't understand. Why not just stay in the room? But Jiang Shai insisted. Now he was saying it was too dusty and they should go somewhere else. Such strange stubbornness. And it was almost time for the young master to get off work. Suo couldn't help looking toward the front gate. The next moment he heard a car stop. Suo couldn't wait to run and greet him. But someone grabbed his arm and pulled him back. Suo lost his balance and fell onto Jiang Xitai's legs. Just then his mother-in-law saw this scene and gasped. But he didn't expect Jiang Zitai to say, Are you okay? You should be more careful. With that, Suo glared at the hypocritical man in front of him. His mother-in-law standing next to him was already impatient. She called him useless and pushed him away. When Suo got back to the kitchen, the lady told him to hurry and help set the table for dinner. But when he finished, he realized there was no place for the young master. Suo couldn't help asking the lady. He learned that the young master never ate dinner. Sometimes when asked, he'd say he already ate. Learning this, Suo felt bad. No one at home was taking care of Shixio. At dinner, Suo still brought food to his brother-in-law's room. But he wasn't in. Suo couldn't help looking for him. When he got to the warehouse, someone suddenly rushed over and hugged him from behind. Suo was startled. He saw it was Shixio. He came to steal the treasure. Suo asked why he was here. The Shixio said seriously and quietly, hiding to steal my sister-in-law. To steal my sister. Suo started to struggle. We can't do this here. The Shixio looked at him seriously and couldn't help smiling. Why not? No one comes here. No one comes here. But right after he said that, voices came from the yard. It was the mother and son. They were plotting how to get rid of Shixio and take the shares. They were going to tell Li Chenmei about him being an illegitimate child. That way Jiang Jixiu would be dumped right away. They'd show him what happens when some nobody gets too cocky. After they left, the two people hiding in the warehouse were silent for a long time. Shixio said quietly, Sister-in-law, did you eat? Suo didn't answer. Instead, he asked if he had eaten. What did you eat? Xiqi said he had. Suo turned to look at him. I didn't know you ate, so I brought food to your room. When you eat it. Xie looked at Suo, whose eyes were full of tears. He didn't know what the future would bring, but in that moment, he didn't want to let go. What did Suo see? What made him so scared? Shixio stared at the two things on the table. Finally, he picked up the medicine bottle and rubbed it in his hat. Meanwhile, Suo watched the pouring rain outside. He was lost in thought when suddenly a crash brought him back to reality. Shitai was throwing another fit. Suo had no choice but to crouch down and clean up the bowl he'd smashed. But he didn't expect Shitai to suddenly ask if he knew what soup was. Suo paused, then answered no. Shitai looked at him mockingly. Right? How would someone like you know? You probably never went to the Grand Hotel in the city either. The head chef there makes amazing steak. It's not a place just anyone can go. But if you mention my name, you can get in. You couldn't get in even if you died. Suo looked at him, speechless. Another episode. Not wanting to deal with anymore, he said I'll get the porridge and left, leaving Zitai still cursing in the room. But he ran into Shixio as soon as he came out. To avoid suspicion, Suo said good evening, blushing. Just as he was about to leave, Shixio grabbed his arm. You're not done with the medicine yet. Before Suo could answer, he handed over the bottle. And told him it was similar to the last one. Then he looked at Suo. Come over tonight. Then he went downstairs. Behind him, Suo blushed and gripped the medicine bottle tightly. Evening. Shitai looked at the plate, puzzled. What's this? So he explained. It's soup. Didn't you say you wanted some earlier today? Shitai looked shocked. You think I wanted this? So he nodded seriously. I made this. Shitai stared at him in disbelief. Then his face turned bright red. You made it. If you don't want it, I'll take it away. He reached out to take it back. But Tai Si was faster than him. Put it down. Then he blushed and smiled. You really are something. You made all this for me. So he just looked speechless. Shitai suddenly called him. That restaurant I mentioned earlier. Do you want to go? So he paused. Before he could answer, Shitai shouted angrily. I mean, if the weather's nice, we'll go together. Then we'll eat together, drink tea together. So he saw how serious he was and agreed. Then he watched Shitai shyly lower his head and keep drinking his soup. Just like every day. After putting him to sleep, so he knocked on Sishu's door. Then he was pulled in by the man who'd been waiting. I've been waiting for you. A loud rumble of thunder woke Suhi. Is this a dream? Following his instincts, he wanted to see someone. When he opened the door and saw what was inside, he was stunned. Sir, what's he doing? By the time he rushed over, it was too late.
If you want the uncut version, find me in the fan group.
A man marries off as a bride in place of his sister Steve. Every day he's beaten or cursed. The only reason he puts up with it all is his brother-in-law's nightly care. Little does he know, it's all a trap set by that man. Jiang Long. So he never imagined. His mother-in-law's face was covered in. Like a ghost, she walked toward him, muttering something. So he listened carefully and understood. She killed Shishu's mother who was overseas. So he froze on the spot. But then, the woman suddenly grabbed the medicine bottle. So he felt something was wrong. Then the woman held up the bottle triumphantly. Found it. I found the evidence. Then she started laughing. So he was so disgusted by the scene he started dry hit. Little did he know the woman thought he was pregnant with her grandson. She kept asking how many months along, when's the wedding? So he was confused by the sudden questions. He tried to explain he wasn't pregnant. But the moment he finished, she slapped him hard. So he covered his face and stared at the crazy woman in disbelief. He started trembling. I'm not pregnant with the sir's child. But just then, a chilling voice came. He's pregnant. It was Jiang Xixu, who hadn't been seen for days. Are you really pregnant? That idiot's child. Like he'd heard the funniest joke, he started laughing. How could you get pregnant with someone else's child? If you were pregnant, it'd be with mine. With that, the stepmother finally realized something. You monster. How dare you? But before she could finish, Xixu's men grabbed her and dragged her out. You little bastard. You killed Qitai. But Xixu just looked at her mockingly. Where's the proof? The next second, the stepmother held up the medicine. You called evidence. To the doctor. He said it was just regular vitamins. The stepmother didn't believe her. She thought they were all in on it with Xixu. The night of the incident, you were together. Xixu explained, sounding hurt. Mom, I was asleep that night. My brother's room made a loud noise. So I went to check. I found him hanging from the railing. That's how it happened. His answer made the woman break down completely. The doctor saw this. He suggested Xixu should hospitalize the patient in need to prevent self-harm, delusions, and confusion from happening at once. So Xixu took the doctor's advice. Watching the stepmother being taken, Xixu had finally gotten his revenge. Years of holding back. But it wasn't over. Su He saw the man look at him mockingly. Didn't you say you were pregnant? Su He finally changed back into men's clothes. That lunatic locked him in the villa every day. He couldn't leave. Previously, Xixu finally dealt with the mother and son. But then he turned on Su He and humiliated him. You're pregnant with Jiang Shaitai's child. Are you planning to call her mama while you serve her? He stepped forward to force himself. But Su He pushed him. But just then, a chilling voice came. He's pregnant. And that night, it was Jiang Xixu, who hadn't been seen for days. Faced with the accusation, are you really pregnant? That idiot's child. He started laughing like he'd heard the funniest joke. How could you get pregnant with someone else's child? A pregnant idiot with mine. No matter what you think. With that, the stepmother finally realized something. You monster. How dare you? But before she could finish, Xixu's men grabbed her and dragged her out. You little bastard. You killed Xiaotai. As long as that night, the next second, the stepmother held up the medicine. But after the doctor examined her so-called evidence, he said it was just regular vitamins. The stepmother didn't believe what he said. She thought they were all in on it with Xixu. The night of the incident, you were together. Xixu explained, sounding hurt. Mom, I was asleep that night. I just reached the door. My brother's room made a loud noise. So I went to check. I found him hanging from the railing. His answer made the woman break down completely. But the doctor suggested Xixu should hospitalize the patient immediately. So Xixu took the doctor's advice, watching the stepmother being taken away. But it wasn't over. So he saw the man look at him mockingly. Didn't you say you were pregnant? So he finally changed back into men's clothes. So he said I want to go home in the villa every day. He couldn't even get out of bed. Xixu finally dealt with it, the mother and son. But then he turned on Shu He and humiliated him. You're pregnant with Jiang Xitai's child. You're planning to call her mom while you serve him. Later, he stepped forward. No, don't. But Su Yi pushed him away. What was that medicine? And that night you did that. Then you left me. Where did you go? Faced with the questions, Xixu just laughed. Didn't you just hear it? So Shi finally broke down and cried. He couldn't understand why Xixu would use him like that. The next second, the man lifted his face. Whatever you're thinking is right. Before he could react, the man turned and laughed. After he left, Su He didn't know what to do. Jian Ceqiao was that something all trapped away. And he was the only one who knew Jiang Xixu was suspicious. Xi Ju immediately called the housekeeper over. As long as you don't tell anyone what you saw that night, I'll support your kid until she's grown. How about you? The housekeeper heard. Then stay by my side. He froze. That's right. He didn't need to wear women's clothes anymore. When he went downstairs, he didn't change. Because he had no reason to stay here anymore. Is that okay? Su He was still in shock from what he just said. The man grabbed his wrist hard. So don't ever talk about it. Or saying you won't tell anyone. Even I don't like it. When people see me and think of dead, it pisses me off. Before he could answer, he turned to walk. Left behind, Xu thought Xixu was right. He really was stupid. That's why that guy used him. Meanwhile, at the office, Xixu was fuming. But he still asked his people first. How's it going over there? It turns out a few days ago, his father's factory in Vietnam suddenly exploded. His father went missing right then. But none of that mattered to him. What mattered was that Su He actually wanted to leave. At first, yeah, he wanted to mess with Jiang Xitai. But somewhere along the way, he forgot all about that. The original plan was to find him a nice place, so he and his grandma could live together. I had to make it up to him, but he wanted to leave on his own. He said he liked me before. Now he just wants to bolt. I don't care what you think of me. I'm not letting you leave. But soon enough, he noticed Su He was different. He was still obedient, but he refused to eat or drink. So to make him happy, I told Su He I'd take you to see grandma this weekend. Only then did he finally let me hold him and get some sleep. But when I woke up, Su He looked out of it. Why am I here? The man said he liked him, wanted him to stay by his house, and he'd been fooled again. Last time the man woke up, and found Su He wandering around the room all dazed. So he called out and asked what was wrong. So he looked startled, like he just snapped out of it. No, don't need that. He asked me why he was standing there. Xixu got worried. Are you okay? Did you have a bad dream? So he looked at the man who seemed so concerned. Right as he reached the door, Xixu's men stopped him. Please go back to your room. She was furious, but they didn't budge. Where are you going? Just then, a voice came from behind. You didn't change. So he turned around. It was Xixu. You were gonna leave without saying anything. So he panicked. I'm sorry. 我急，she said it was fine. Sure, you're still young. It's normal to do a dumb thing, but you don't like clothes. You still want to keep wearing that? 闻了完事 ，Chishu glanced at what he was wearing. 我在 You still look good like that. 不得了，是啊，苏西下来往这个红，但是去 show off. 他的生意不得命的。But so many chances to leave before. Yeah, so why wait for now to say you want to go? Now you're just gonna dunk me and leave. The man locked Suhi up in the villa, but before long he noticed something was off. Suhi tried to leave, but Chishu caught him. You were gonna dump me and leave. Just me, facing the man's questions. But speaking of which, just fell. And I'm scared. Chishu actually laughed, like he'd heard a joke. 害怕他 scared. I'm not gonna hit you. Scared what? Are there really that many coincidences in the world? A guy who could abandon his own father and brother. Getting rid of me shouldn't be a big deal. Soon the weekend was almost here. That meant seeing Grandma soon. Jiang Shishi was good to him. Every night he made him warm milk, gently put him to sleep. But I decided not to give him any more of my heart, because I know he's just messing with me, and I have no reason to stay here anymore. So at dinner that day, I mentioned the clock in the living room was broken. Shishi saw I cared about it. Asked if I wanted it. I shook my head. The man said easily, then just toss it. Seeing he was in a good mood, I made another request. I want steam buns. I loved them since I was a kid.